What is going on, New York Giants family, New York Giants friends? Hit Squad back at it with another video, episode 2 of Giants and Friends. I got my dog Ash with me, man. I mean, this is going to be a fun show. Ash, I appreciate you taking the time to join the show and speak with the kid. How you feeling, man? How's your day been? What's good with you, man?
Oh yeah, no problem, man. No problem. I appreciate you for inviting me. Your streams, I like your whole vibe, and I like how you guys run your streams and stuff. But yeah, I'm doing good. I just did some some errands and stuff like that. Um, I literally got home like 30 minutes ago. Um,
Yeah, I feel that.
just to get a little something to eat. But yeah, I'm doing good. And again, I appreciate you for inviting me on the stream. I can't wait to get to some of these topics we're going to talk about today. And yeah,
Definitely, bro. Definitely. And believe me, man, I appreciate, the kind words because I really do mean a lot. I appreciate it, man, for real.
hmm
Just you being here. It's gonna be a fun ass show. We got a bunch of people in the chats. I just want to get to these real quick. We got Mark the Blue Giant. Nice seeing you, man. I appreciate you stopping by. We got D Matt Warrior. I appreciate it, man. It was a fun stream yesterday. So I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. Jaden, what is up? We got Giant Opinion Sports in here. What is going on, Mr. Optimus Prime? How you doing?
what's
What
going
is
on,
going
yo?
on? Big Blue Corner. What is up? Mac the Giants fan. What is up, my man? What is up? So let's get into this, man. So we're gonna start this off with actually what I want to talk about just briefly, real quick. I know, they announced, I guess, the rest of the coaches today. We have a running backs coach, DeAndre Smith. I'm looking at now. I don't know too much about him, so I really can't give my thoughts on that. But before we get into the topic of DJ, real quick, because I know we were going to start it off with that. How are you feeling about these hires? Is there any that really like stick out to you that you may like?
Yeah, like other than, I don't really know much about like some of the positional coaches that we hired. Um just because like I mean a lot of unless you're like really into everything involving the Giants, I'm sure a lot of people don't really look into, every single hire. So,
Yeah,
um, but the main hires with Mike Kafka, Wink Martindale, and keeping Thomas McGaughey, I think that's how you say his name.
yeah, McGahee, yes.
McGahee, yeah. And it seems like a lot of the players really liked him, and they're excited for him to be back. Um, so yeah, and I really like the Wink Martindale hire a lot. I know a lot of people are like kind of worried about it because of you know, his continuing his con I don't even know the word I'm looking for, but his like he keeps on blitzing, whatever word
Yeah,
that relates to. Um, his continuous blitzing. That's what I meant to say. His continuous blitzing. And that really worries some people. And it really worked up until this year, to be honest, where I mean their secondary and the Ravens secondary got hit hard.
oof, yeah.
So he got exposed a little bit on the blitzing, but I feel like that's what the Giants need, and that's what they've been missing. You know, that hard nosed aggression with the pass rush and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So I feel like you're going to see a lot of these players, uh, whoever they keep. Obviously, people like Leonard Williams, because I mean, obviously because of the contract, Aziz Ojolari, um, Dexter Lawrence, if he is here, and maybe they go a defense with I think they'll go defense with one of those top two picks.
I think you
Maybe
have
it's
to.
yeah, me too. Maybe it's if Kayvon falls to five. My
God,
personal
right.
favorite, if we go offensive tackle at five, would be Devin Lloyd at seven. I mean, I've just been
Ooh, okay.
Paul, yeah, pause on that, but I've just been in love with him, as a prospect, and I would
Yeah,
really
nah.
love Devin Lloyd because I feel like he's something that we've needed in a
Yeah,
long time.
I agree with you there. On the stream yesterday, I had mentioned it with the hub that I feel like we need. I know because I had said a dominant linebacker, but I definitely do think the right wording would be a competent well-rounded linebacker.
Yeah.
For Wink's defense, and that's no knock on Martinez or Crowder. I think Crowder would make the cut. I think he's relatively productive, especially for where we drafted him. But
Yeah.
the more that I watch Devin Lloyd, man, it's like I'm kind of torn at with 7, because I feel like you could possibly trade back, maybe to 9 or 10, maybe even 12 if Minnesota wants to jump up, which I'm not too sure if they would. But
Hmm.
I think you could possibly pick him up there. I think that it's a player like Devin Lloyd would fit Wink's scheme like literally like perfectly placed.
Yeah. That's what they need.
It's crazy. That is what we need.
They
You
need a
know,
linebacker that goes sideline to sideline, makes plays, and can cover as well. And I mean, from what I've seen of him, he can cover. I'm not gonna say that he's just like this great coverage linebacker, but
yeah.
from what I've seen, he can cover. So that's just what the Giants need and what they've been missing. I'm not saying Blake Martinez is some scrub, or I'm not saying he's trash, but he hasn't been what we really. I mean, he's been great for us, but you
Yep.
know, he's not really that good in the passing game. And I feel like Devin Lloyd is really like a combination of all aspects. So
I agree with you there, and especially like when we hired Wink, I know he's not really a fan favorite in terms of the player on the name, but I thought that you look at a player like Ojabo, if you were to trade back, I
oh
think that
yeah.
he would fit very well with Wink's defense. I mean, right now, and I love Ojolari, which is why I have him here on the screen. Uh, right now, man, I just feel like he could raise Ojolari's ceiling, kind of like with what he did with Jason
Mhm.
Owe. But I think that
Yeah.
Ojolari is going to need that dominant pass rusher, on the opposite side of him. And I wouldn't be surprised if and I thought that Giant Opinion Sports made a good point. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Shane were to look at bringing in a player like Jerry Hughes. Jerry Hughes is on the back end of his career right now. He could take a
Mhm.
1-year deal for not entirely too much. I mean, Shane is trying to clear up 40 million, but I mean, he's
Yeah.
still relatively productive. But I think that, man, if Thibodeau falls at 5, which I think is more likely than people think, you got to run up to that podium and not even second think it. Like when you are on the clock, I need to see someone there. Like you don't nothing, man. One
Yeah, and
second, put that
I
card in.
think I think a lot of people they're I feel like they are. Oh, I just got a pop up on my computer. A lot of people are, and mind the dog. But a lot of people are like just assuming that Akeem Aquan was gonna be there at 5. I think the Jets. I mean, Joe Douglas. He's not Dave Gettleman, but his like philosophy is kind of the same as Dave Gettleman. Like he
Yeah,
values the guys in the trenches a lot, like a lot, right? So,
absolutely.
um, and a lot of people think the Jets are going to take a center like Stingley or Kyle Hamilton with that 4th pick. I don't think so. I think if Kayvon Thibodeau is there, they're going to take him. But I also think if they're not really highly of Kayvon Thibodeau, I think they're going to take Akeem Aquanu at 4. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, it's like
I can see that.
and I think a lot of people bring up is like a lot of people content creators. I think like I feel like Joe Shane and Brian Daboll, their philosophy, I feel like they can make this offense work, or they feel like, let me not say they can, but I feel like they feel like they'll be able to make this offense work without drafting an offense. Even though I mean I would be against that, but then again, I put my trust in them, but they
Yeah,
might, want to build the defense up. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if Akeem's not there, you take Kayvon at 5, maybe you take Devin Lloyd at 7, and then you could probably package, try to package up a deal to move into the first round and maybe take somebody, if you could get high enough, take somebody like Charles Cross, even though I
yeah.
don't think you'll go that late, or maybe an offensive lineman like Trevor Penning, and they could work with him. But there's a lot of possibilities. I feel like,
So many, so many.
you know, because a lot of people have realized like it's not like this isn't the NBA draft, right? Like this is the NFL draft, 7 rounds. Buffalo's best offensive lineman was a second round pick, and
Yep.
now he's one of the
Yep.
best tackles in the league. So I think Giants fans, and I'm gonna say me including, I feel like we are so like we are traumatized by Dave Gettleman and Jerry Reese. Like, they haven't fixed this offensive line woes, and we haven't had depth and talent at the position that we're like so traumatized into thinking that we need to take two offensive linemen in the top 10. Like, I've never been a fan of taking, and I'm not gonna say, Linderbaum is a bad player. He is really one of the best. If he pans out, he could be the best center in the league just
Absolutely.
based off of his athleticism. And I'm not
Absolutely.
gonna say so I'm not gonna say that, but I'm just not a fan of taking a center in the top 10. And a lot of people will say, well, he's more than just a center, but we could get serviceable and even really great, solid centers, later in the round, especially if you have that development, you have the developmental coaching staff to coach out some of these guys' woes, So
Absolutely, absolutely. And I definitely see what you're saying. I think that you make some great points there. I think for me personally, in recent days, the more that I think on it, would I be upset if they went defense with both of those picks? No, I mean I wouldn't. Would I be upset if they went, if we doubled up with offensive linemen? I'd probably be jumping up and down. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah.
If we can't pick up someone at 5, whether that's Aquanu or Neal, because I think honestly, man, I mean, the Jets could be in play to take a tackle, and who's to say
Mhm.
that they don't take, with their second first rounder, a player like Hamilton, or maybe even a player like Ojabo, or or doubling up on the offensive line. You know, for your head coach and Rob Solid to say that your job isn't guaranteed, in when he's talking about Makai Becton, they selected him early in the draft, man. I mean, he's still a first round pick,
Mhm.
so that for me at least tells me that one of those picks is either going to be offensive tackle, or maybe they address the guard position. I could see that personally, but I don't know, man. I mean, if we could get if Thibodeau were to somehow fall to us, which like I said, I think it's more likely than people think, especially with Equanu's stock rising, or if Texans were to trade out of 3, I'm okay taking Linderbaum in a trade back, because I really want to trade
Yeah.
back from 7. So if you're telling me we could pick up extra capital, and we at least get one piece on the offensive line on in the first round, and maybe in the second round we could go find a tackle, or if they were to adjust the linebacker position, I wouldn't be upset at all with that. But I just want to get to some of these chats because I am behind a little bit. What is going on, Big Pat? Nice to see you here, man. Thank you for coming to the show. What is up, Giant Opinion? Adam, my man, what is going on, man? Giant Opinion says, I keep hearing Kayvon is going to fall. Bring him home. I've definitely been seeing people talking about him falling. And I've been reading
Yeah.
some articles. I think it's possible, man. I really do. I mean, is it likely? I mean, should we expect it? Obviously not. But because I just don't see him falling past, if he is there. I just, for some reason, I don't see him falling past the Jets. I think that Rob Sala, who's a defensive coach, he's gonna want that guy coming off of the line. So I could see that over there. But again,
Mhm.
they need some offensive line help. So and look, we're gonna get into the next topic, which we can transition it from here. Some of these quarterbacks, they are gonna get hyped up, whether that's Willis, whether that's Pickett. It's gonna happen, and we may not all feel that these QBs are worthy of being taken in the top 10. Some of us may, but I'm not gonna complain, just because that just means some of these players are gonna fall right at 5. And if 4 teams pass on a player like Kayvon, that's okay. The fifth team isn't, or at least the fifth team I hope wouldn't. But let's get into this real quick. Ash, I really love your takes on Malik Willis. I think that you make excellent points. I really loved what you were saying in the chat yesterday, man. I want you to speak your piece, man. I mean, what are your thoughts on this kid? Because I see a lot of people. Let me not say a lot, but I had seen a post out there which kind of had me thinking for a little bit, where it could be possible that Dable could look at, a player like Malik Willis and say, this is a player I could work with. Do I personally want it? Not really. But I really love your takes on this kid, man. I mean, speak your piece, man. How you feeling?
Okay, so I I've been trolling on Twitter with like some Giants fans. It's basically
Oh
it's just
yeah,
like it's a two-edged sword. It's a double-sided sword, or what's the saying, two-edged sword, or whatever it's called. Um,
something like that.
Malik Willis, this dude needs a lot of work, like a lot, right? Like,
Yeah,
and I just see like a lot of people that are like calling him the best thing ever, and I see a lot of people calling him just complete trash, complete garbage.
yep,
My
absolutely.
problem is I'm just neutral with it, right? Like if the Giants were to take Malik Willis, like say we go at tackle at 5, and then well, if the Giants really wanted to take Malik Willis, they're gonna take him at 5 because that's just how you grab your quarterback.
Absolutely.
Um, but let's just say because I think Carolina's going to take a quarterback. So let's just say Malik Willis gets taken at 5, and then obviously we'll get a tackle or something at 7. I wouldn't be mad. I know a lot of Giants fans would be screaming to the heavens in despair because they just feel like Malik Willis is just absolutely garbage. But I'm at the end of the day, I'm just going to be like, oh, well, right? But I kind of find it like a lot of Giants fans, they either like Malik Willis because they hate Daniel Jones, or they hate Malik Willis because they love Daniel Jones. That's
Yep.
basically what it is. It's kind of like the Jordan LeBron debate, right? A lot of Jordan fans absolutely hate LeBron just because they have this extreme love for Jordan. And a lot of LeBron fans, because of that, a lot of LeBron fans don't really like Jordan and Jordan fans because of the hate they get. So that's kind of like
Yeah,
something a similar situation here on a much much lower level. But my thing about Malik Willis, is he trash? Is he garbage? No. Does he need work? Yes.
absolutely.
But I just feel like a lot of people actually like they just jump the gun and just don't want to worry about him, or just don't want to even take a chance on him because he has problems, right? And I say this like this: we have two coaches on the offensive side of the ball outside of Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy. We have a coach that really, outside of those two, we had a coach as the offensive coordinator who really has had an important hand in Patrick Mahomes. We had Sean McDermott is a defensive minded coach. So Brian
Yep.
Daboll had sole responsibility on that offense with Josh Allen. So those are two coaches that you have on the offensive side of the ball that have dealt with the two biggest projects at the quarterback position in the last 2 decades.
Facts.
I could probably even say my memory doesn't go like my football memory doesn't go back that far, but I'm not going to reach it. But in the past 2 decades, name me a quarterback that was a bigger project, labeled as a project or bigger project, and turned out to be at the level of Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen has like turned out to be, and they were like a bigger project than those two. Like Patrick Mahomes had an arm, right? He had a rocket. Josh Allen had a
Absolutely.
rocket, but both of them, they were labeled as big arm playmaking quarterbacks, but they have problems with their accuracy, they have problems with their footwork, and they have problems with their mechanics, right?
Yep.
So I look at Malik Willis that same way, right? So um my thing about Malik Willis is that he's a one read quarterback. And it's like if his first read isn't there, he takes off. You know, you look at his footwork. Even he said it. He said the reason why he wanted to participate in the Senior Bowl and he wanted to do a lot of training over the summer was to work on his footwork because he knows, you
Yeah.
know. But really, a lot of people I look at it this: if you're first, that's something we killed Daniel Jones over about
Yep.
him
Absolutely.
staying in the pocket too long. When it collapses, he doesn't like he's like hesitant, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a good thing with Malik Willis if you're looking at it like, oh, if his first read's not there, if it's not there, he could get out of it and make space. And
Mhm.
that's something that, it's like of the modern quarterback. A lot of quarterbacks that, we gush over, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, you know, um, some people like Kyler Murray, for instance, they when their read isn't there, they get out that pocket. So that's something that's like a pro. A con is like I said, he's a one read quarterback. He likes to force stuff, and that's stuff that like I could see. I could see him. I could see Brian Daboll, Mike Coughlin saying, you know what, we can see. I see that with Malik Willis. I could work some of these things out. In my opinion, if we get Malik Willis, he's going to have to sit on the bench for at least a year. At least.
I'm there with you. I'm 100% there with you.
But here's my thing, and I want a lot of Giants fans to look at. Right? Let's say, and they did this with Daniel Jones as well. Let's say we pass on Malik Willis, and I'm not saying that he's going to be this next great quarterback, but let's say we pass on him, he goes to Washington or Pittsburgh or something like that, and then he gets in a perfect situation. Then you're going to be smacking yourself in the face because you just passed up on a generational quarterback.
Yeah, that's very true.
So very true. My thing about Malik Willis is basically like, my problem is I'm not saying take him. If it was mine, if it was my choice, I'd pass on him, right? But my problem is just people just going so they're like, oh, we need to give Daniel Jones his fourth year. We need to, see what he could do. Even though if you get Malik Willis, you're still giving Daniel Jones his fourth year because he's gonna be on the bench. Yeah. Buffalo, Josh Allen looked so bad. I mean, people kind of overrate like Josh Allen. He developed into something out of this world, but people forget how bad Josh Allen was like his first year. Like
he was pretty bad, man.
I looked at this clip in his first like training camp, or his first like camp. He couldn't even hit a check down accurately. Like this dude has some serious problems, right? So at the end of the day, I'm not saying, and then I also don't believe that, getting you should tie yourself to a rookie quarterback your first year as a coach, because then, you already have 1 year off the books, right?
Yep. I agree.
In terms of your job security. But I see a lot of people saying like drafting a quarterback doesn't make sense this year. We should just take a quarterback next year. I mean, let's say you feel like you have your guy Malik Willis, right? Mm-hmm. And then you pass on him. And then let's say Daniel Jones, Brian Daboll, even though this is his first year, Daniel Jones could be learning a new scheme. Let's say Daniel Jones gets this team to 8 wins. That automatically puts you out of the top 10. Spoiler alert, if Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are what they really are, you're not getting them. They're going 1-2.
That's true.
So, what I want people to tell me is, what quarterback are you going to want to do? And the thing with Bryce Young and CJ Stroud is a lot of things can happen in a year. I'm not comparing them to, like Sam Howell and Spencer Rattler, but those two guys were viewed as the top 2 quarterbacks coming out this year in the draft. Spencer Rattler lost his job to a freshman, and Sam Howell had an off year. Matt Corral was probably going to go top 20 this year, but he got injured. So it's a lot of stuff you got to take into thought here when you're dealing with this, quarterback situation, right?
Yeah.
I honestly think if Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka, if we get Malik Willis, and I think it is a possibility, because I mean Joe Shane and sent scouts to Malik Willis's game during their season, like 4 times during the season. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to completely write it off, but I feel like if they could do something similar to what they did with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and work out his, Malik Willis's horrible mechanics, I think we automatically have the top, the best quarterback in the division, because his ceiling, his potential is through the roof. If he could work out his passing game and go through his processes and stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm not saying draft him, but I'm also saying don't write him off,
Yeah.
I'm not for the Malik Willis hate. I really hope all these teams, they just pass on him and he ends up in like Tampa Bay or something, and then everybody's like, "Oh, we should have drafted Malik Willis. How could you, Joe Shane? How could you pass on Malik Willis?" I'm just really
Yep.
hoping that so everybody can look stupid, but I'm not gonna be a hater on him. I'm not gonna be a supporter on him, like saying, we need to. I'm banging the table for him, but I'm just gonna say, in the right situation, he could be a problem. So
I agree there. I definitely, man, you made a lot of great points. I'm gonna just keep it 100%.
yeah, I
You
know.
made
I'm
a
sorry I
lot
went
of
off
great
on a
points.
little
No,
tangent.
no, no, no. I love that kind of stuff, man. Keep doing that, man. One thing I will say, right? I think that Malik Willis gets a lot of hate for things that, honestly, man, it's like I get some of them, but honestly, I just think that it's where people are thinking that he's going to get drafted at. Some people see him getting picked at 3 to the Texans. I don't, me personally, as much as I would love for these QBs to get hyped, I don't see any QB getting taken before Carolina. I
Yeah,
mean, you can make an
me too.
argument, the Texans, which if the Tech, hey, look, I am not ruling it out that the Texans wouldn't mind taking a quarterback. I mean, I would love to see what Malik Willis could do with Pep Hamilton. I think that that would be a good situation. They have Davis Mills. However, if the Texans are smart, they would either select Thibodeau or go and trade back to collect more capital. But we're talking about the Texans here. Now,
Yeah,
in terms of Malik Willis, man, I mean, I think his ceiling is high. I think that there are some things he has to work on. I don't think that he's perfect at all. I think that if he would have came out maybe next year, you're talking about maybe a second round quarterback. But with how you're looking at it this year, I mean, it's gonna happen. And one of these teams, man, they're gonna be hungry to take a
yeah,
quarterback. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Kenny Pickett. I think Matt Corral's all right, but I think that again, Willis has a pretty high ceiling. I don't. I think that just because he's relatively elusive, to say the least, people will compare him to Lamar Jackson, which I don't see that. I think Lamar is a QB of his own, in my opinion. Even Kyler Murray or Russell Wilson. That's not a good
yeah.
example with Russell
He's
Wilson,
he's
but
he's
you know,
basically he's basically Jalen Hurts with an arm.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's what he is.
Which Jalen Hurts, I mean, to me, I'll be honest, I am definitely one of those people that calls that man a quarterback. Excuse me, a running back playing quarterback, Jalen Hurts. But I don't see that with Malik Willis personally. I know some people may not agree with that statement, but I think that if he goes into a good situation, let's say like the Steelers, which they've been very upfront with saying that they want a veteran right now. So if they go and get a veteran quarterback, who's to say that they don't select Willis and have him be developed,
Yeah,
behind this veteran for what, a year or 2 years? I mean, it's while letting these quarterbacks sit for a year, 2 years is kind of uncommon at this point, or it's frowned upon. There are some teams that still do it. I mean, I know that Trey Lance kind of came in some games and did a drive or two, but for the most part, he pretty much stayed on the bench this year. Same with Jordan Love out in Green Bay, But you look at both of those quarterbacks. I mean, excuse me, both of those teams, they have quarterbacks. They have competent quarterbacks to where you can afford to let these QBs sit on the bench. So I think that it's going to be one of those things. I think that if he goes to a team that right now needs a quarterback to start, then I think that you're bringing him into a situation where he
he's
may
not
not
gonna
be able to
succeed.
succeed. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, exactly. So, I loved your points on that with Malik Willis. I really wanted to hear what you had to say. Um, Now let's get into this real quick because I know that we're talking about DJ and I love your points on how you feel about DJ and his situation right now. Do you and we have to wait and see obviously with this coaching staff, and I really want to stress that to Giants fans, we have to be patient with this coaching staff. But let's say hypothetically, because I don't know if you heard the Jordan Renan podcast where he thinks that they're going to keep DJ for like another 2 years possibly and build around him. But
yeah, I did hear that.
Do you think that Brian Dable could? I'm not saying on no Josh Allen stuff. Josh Allen is in a class of his own, so that
Yeah.
I'm not even saying that. But do you think that he could elevate DJ if this team is built correctly? I know that is pretty. I mean, you could easily say yes because if it's built correctly, he should succeed. But I mean, what are your thoughts, man? I mean, with Dable and DJ, do you see it working? Do you not see it working? Like, how you feeling?
Um, I I love DJ. I love Daniel Jones. I was one, and this was before Chris Stapps was like just like took an epic downfall. When DJ got drafted, I was basically calling him the Chris Stapps of the Giants, like of how like he, got booed on draft day leading up, to like the season, and then he comes out of nowhere and just balls out, and surprises everybody. Now everybody's on his top after booing him. But my thing about DJ, I just feel like it's not meant to be. Um, and that's not even a knock on his talent, but the situation is just like they failed him. They failed him before he even put on the Giants helmet. I say this all the time. Um, you traded away a top, and I'm not saying that we should have kept Odell Beckham Jr. And I'm not saying Odell Beckham Jr. didn't, want to or shouldn't he tried to force his way out. I'm not saying any of that, but you traded away even like during the season, you went to scout Justin Herbert. So you had your mind set that you were taking a quarterback this year. That was before Justin Herbert, declared to go back to Oregon, and that was while you were looking at Daniel Jones. I'm not gonna know the process because like we had thoughts about Daniel Jones coming out like a week before the draft saying they were gonna take him. But
Yeah.
my thing is that you traded Odell when you had your mindset on taking a quarterback. You try to replace him with Golden Tate, paid him all this money. And I'm not saying Golden Tate did work for us that year. I'm not gonna lie. He got suspended, but he was like our best receiver that year. And he did, help DJ a lot that year. But
That's true.
you try to replace a top 5 receiver with the corpse of Golden Tate. Golden Tate would have been good as a number 2. But not only did you do that, you traded up into the first round and you took a corner. DeAndre Baker, when DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, and Deebo Samuel were all on the board. Like Dave Gettleman just disgusts me. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you trade away a top 5 receiver in the game in Odell Beckham. Yeah, he was injured, but a lot of people don't realize how Odell made that offense work Saquon's rookie year.
Yeah.
Because like Odell could have been out there with one leg and with a hurt ankle. His ankle was wrapped and they still wouldn't press him because that's just the he just put the fear of God into defensive backs. They weren't going to press him. So that led to Saquon getting that room, even though the offensive line was bad, that led to Saquon getting that room to work. That's why he racked up all those yards. Why you think when they traded away Odell the next year, Saquon, took a decline?
Yeah. You make a great point there, man. I mean,
yeah, you and the thing is, AJ Brown, and I revisit this, AJ Brown had a Giants shirt on. He posted a picture of him with a Giants shirt on.
I remember that. Man, could you imagine him in this offense, man? Come on.
That's what I'm saying. Like we probably, if you would have did that, and I'm not going to say that Daniel Jones would have been the answer. I'm not saying he would have been bad, but we probably, my opinion, with AJ Brown and Saquon Barkley, we probably won't be having this discussion right now.
You had Metcalf on the board too.
We probably would have already picked up his 5th-year option in my terms, but I just feel like it's not meant to be. And I'm gonna answer your question about what I think Daboll could do with them, but I mean, like even when you look at Drew Brees, with the Chargers, like they downgraded for a quarterback, but Drew Brees was just not meant to be, a Charger.
Yeah.
It's just not meant to be. That's kind of the thing I feel with Daniel Jones. I'm not gonna say he's gonna go off. I'm not gonna call him a bust, but I'm not gonna say he's gonna go off and make the Giants regret, not building around him.
Yep.
I just feel like it's just not meant to be. But with Daboll and Mike Kafka, I do feel like they could get the best out of DJ. Um, do I think it would be? Do I think it's going to be? What's the word? Do I think it's going to be enough for him to get a franchise tag and him being our quarterback for the future? I don't, but I do feel like you're going to see something probably similar to his rookie year, where he throws like 26, 27 touchdowns and probably like 12 picks. That's just my opinion.
I
I do
like it.
feel like,
I like it.
yeah, I'm not gonna go off. I said, when Joe Shane, even though they could be bluffing, let's just keep that real. They could be bluffing about the whole DJ
Absolutely.
situation. Um, uh, but when he was at the press conference, and again, they're not gonna say, "Oh, DJ sucks," because they're not gonna get the job, But when he
Absolutely.
was talking about, we're gonna build this offense around DJ and stuff like that, I was like, all right, I'm gonna get behind him. I'm not gonna come at him. I'm not gonna, this is your prove it year to me. If you fail, you're gone, and that might hurt me. But if you don't, we could probably work something out. But
Yep.
that's my
Now,
thoughts on DJ. Yeah.
hey, you made some great points, man. And before I get to what I gotta say, I just want to say shout out the chat. We got Floyd in the chat, Jay. We
What's up,
got
Floyd?
Giant Opinion. What's going on, man? I appreciate everyone sliding through, man. It means a lot. Um, I agree with you, man. I gotta say this much. And I'm gonna highlight Jay's comment. I actually do agree with that statement. I think that first of all, to your point, Ash, you had AJ Brown on the board, you had DK Metcalf on the board, and you trade up for a corner, which I know that we needed a corner, but it's not like you couldn't have picked a corner in the third round or in the fourth round possibly, and you're still providing a quality talent to help your new quarterback that you just drafted. You select Darius Slayton in the fifth round, who, me and the Hub were talking about it yesterday. He could potentially be a cap casualty because,
Yeah.
his contract that he's slated to make is 2.5 million this year. That 2.5 million isn't guaranteed at all. It's not
Yeah.
guaranteed at all. And if we cut him, the dead money is only $59,000. So and we saved $2.5 million. So it's like
Yeah. I
if they're
dislike
penny
Darius
pinching,
Slayton.
I dislike him too, man. I
Like,
I, I liked
nothing
him his
against
rookie
him.
year, but mm-mm.
Nothing against him. But how are you tall and fast and you still suck? Like,
Yeah, you can't
how-
catch nothing. I mean, you can't create separation. Oh, let me not say that because he can, but I think that Slayton, man. I mean, he's another one for me that I just don't see him lasting. But again, you had AJ Brown on the board. If not, you had DK Metcalf on the board. Seattle already decided to trade with you, so you could have went up and selected DK Metcalf if you wanted to. I mean, there was options on the board, and look, I'm gonna give you this much.
Mhm.
Golden Tate did eat while he was here. I'm not going to act like, anytime we saw a 50-50 ball, it wasn't going to Golden Tate and he was coming down with some crazy catches. I mean, you look at his touchdown against the Patriots or his amazing catch against the Bucks, which credit to Daniel Jones was a dot. In my honest opinion,
Yeah.
but they haven't given this kid a chance to succeed. I'm not saying that he's gonna be the guy. I think that he has tangibles. I think that he has things he has to work on, but if I'm being fair, this kid hasn't been given a chance. He doesn't have an offensive line outside of Andrew Thomas. I mean, Saquon, he's been on, he hasn't been able to stay on the field. His receivers haven't been able to stay on the field, and I don't want to. I don't want to make excuses for this kid because there are teams around the league who deal with injuries far more worse than what we do. But at the same time, I mean, dude, it's bad. It is bad, man. I mean, when you look at the situation that this kid came into, and honestly, it makes me sad. I do see it as kind of like a Drew Brees situation where he may have to go somewhere else and he may flourish. I say this all the time, man. I think that if DJ were to go to a scheme with like McVay or with Kyle Shanahan or honestly I think that if DJ could go to Pittsburgh, at in some way,
Yeah,
I think that he could succeed there. I mean, he's accurate with the ball. He has athleticism. I think that, he has to, read his reads a little faster, but I also want to give him that much too. The offensive line has to give him some time. I mean, what other reads are you going to read when all your wide receivers are running curl routes?
yeah,
So I don't think that it's a coincidence that his best year in terms of putting points on the board and passing yards was the last time that he had a competent or somewhat competent offensive coordinator. So I think that Dable can elevate this kid, but it's gonna come in the trenches.
yeah,
I understand that all of DJ's injuries for the most part have been when he gets outside of the pocket and decides to take off because this kid doesn't know how to slide or doesn't know when to not play hero ball and throw the ball out of bounds. Um, but I gotta be fair to this kid, man. I mean, I think that you go get him an O line, maybe go get him another weapon, a solid weapon, and whether that's a tight end in Ferguson, or whether that's, you getting a wide receiver. I mean, you got to give it to the kid. I mean,
yeah,
we went and signed Kenny Galladay last year, and that's supposed to be, his. Myself included, I'll put myself out there where I was saying, okay, this is going to be this kid's Plaxico. We didn't even use this guy correctly.
yeah.
How
We
do you
didn't.
go sign a big free agent wide receiver and he doesn't have a single touchdown? Whether that's from
Mhm.
DJ, Mike Glennon, or Jake Fromm, he doesn't have a single touchdown. I mean, it's. I'm gonna be very honest. I'm very excited to see what Dable could do with this kid, or just the offense in general. Because I want to see us score touchdowns. I mean, the fact that we were expecting us not to score touchdowns and to just kick field goals is it's embarrassing. It's
Yeah,
embarrassing. It's honestly comical, because that's just you're in a league now where everything is pretty much for the offense in terms of the rules and penalties. It's made to cater towards the offense, and you can't even not only target your 50 wide receiver in Kenny Galladay. You have a speedster in John Ross. I know Kadarius Toney was kind of injured throughout the weeks, but you don't even use your tight end and Evan Ingram correctly. So it's
yeah,
like I'm not saying he's the guy, man, but you got to give this kid a chance. And this is my biggest fear. I'm gonna be not my biggest fear with Daniel Jones, but this is one of my fears with Daniel Jones. If this kid does do solid this year, let's say he puts up numbers that are relative to his rookie year, right? Let's say 27 touchdowns, let's say maybe 10 picks or 11 picks, and let's say the fumbles go down to like 5. You're
mm,
still gonna have the fans that are gonna say, "Well, now his now his trade value is high. You could trade DJ now, and we could go
yeah.
pick up a quarterback in this year's draft."
And then you're gonna have people saying that, oh, he only did it for 1 year.
Exactly, 100%, man. And it's like I feel like you can't win.
That's what I'm
You
saying.
can't
It's
win
not
with
meant to
this
be.
kid.
It's for me. It's just not meant to be. I had like a this past season. I'm not gonna lie. I had a love hate relationship for DJ this past season because
Yeah,
like you had games where the Saints game, the Bronco. I mean, not the Broncos game. The Saints and the Washington game, and then the Carolina game where he just put the team on his back. And then you had games
facts.
where he did have all his weapons, like the Buccaneers games, and he just does like dumb stuff, like
Yep.
throwing
To a
a
D
pick to
tackle.
a D tackle, and it
Yep.
was like nobody was over there. Like nobody was
Yeah.
over there but the defensive tackle. Like I'm not gonna lie, like that made me want to just like, all right, DJ, pack your bags, you're done, you're done.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
and I actually went and watched film on that. There was times in that game where DJ could have launched it. I remember there was this one time I was watching the film and they had like a trips, right? And there were like two options open, in the end zone for Kenny Galladay, Kadarius Toney, and Darius Slayton was like in the middle of the field, and the pocket was clean. He didn't have no pressure or anything, and he just folded, you know. So that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
people got to realize you could have the best team around you, but if your mental isn't right, that's not, a good team isn't going to fix anything. Like I've always compared this situation. It really, when I'm talking about building this team and stuff, I compare it to like the Jared Goff situation, with the Rams. You could build the perfect team, right? You could build the perfect team, but if you don't have that quarterback, it's gonna hold your team back. I mean, even look at Dallas. you could
Yeah, that's a
easily
great point.
say
That's a great point.
you could easily say Dak Prescott is the only thing holding that team back right now. Right now,
Yeah.
you could easily say that. I'm trying to think of another situation. Um,
You look at Jimmy Garoppolo with the
yeah,
49ers.
Jimmy. I mean, if you had a competent quarterback, I'm not going to call Jimmy Garoppolo not a competent quarterback, but if you had because I think people were talking about around that time, people were talking about like trading for
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson to the Niners and stuff like that. You got Deshaun Watson at Super Bowl. He makes that pass to Emmanuel Sanders, and the Niners are 6-time Super Bowl champions
A
easily,
100%. 100%.
easily. Even hit. I'd do it better. Look at Eli. Look. Us. Look at John Mayer wanting to feel like he needs to serve his due diligence to Eli Manning and keeping him really past what we needed to keep him, right? Like, let's be real. Like, after Eli had it until about like 2000, I'm gonna say like around like 2000. I don't know. I don't want people to come at me. But probably around like 2013, he led the league in interceptions, and then I don't care what anybody says. When Odo came into there, it helped Eli out a lot. I'm not, and it revived Eli a little bit because Eli was on a downward spiral. Odell came and
Yeah. Revived that man's
boosted
career.
Odell's play, boosted Eli's play by a ton. But Eli just didn't have it, and that's probably one of the worst decisions John Mara has made. Feeling like he has some loyalty to Eli, bringing in Dave Gettleman, bringing in Pat Sherman because they were yes men. But I have this scenario or the situation I want to ask you because I see
Yeah, yeah.
you mentioned the Darius Slayton thing. So let's say 5-7, right?
Mhm.
Let's say we go with Keem, and then 7 go Devin Lloyd or George Karlaftis, or let's say we get Kayvon at 5, we go Charles Cross at 7. Let's just say we get defense like linebacker / edge, and then offensive line with those first 2 picks. You cut Darius Slayton. What do you think? Do you feel like we should take a receiver in round 2? I'm
Uh,
I'm one of unless you're like unless you're like the Kansas City Chiefs or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where you're like absolute. Even the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were still drafting receivers when they draft um the dude from Minnesota. I
mm,
forgot his name, but um, I feel like you should spend a pick on a receiver every draft, right?
yeah.
So if we cut Darius Slayton, we have Kenny Galladay, Kadarius Toney, and then we're stuck with, you know, John Ross if we bring him back, Colin Johnson if we bring him back. Um, Maybe we sign like a veteran receiver like Emmanuel Sanders or something
I
like
could
that.
see that too. I could see that.
So
Um,
would you draft probably somebody like a George Pickens? Um, I don't know how many receivers. I think Drake London, Garrett Wilson, they go in the first round, and then
Absolutely, absolutely.
I don't know about. I think 3 receivers go in the first round, so you're probably looking at like one of the Bama boys. Jameson Williams is somebody else. I think Jameson goes in the first round, so maybe we're looking at like the receiver from Arkansas, the receiver for maybe Chris Olave. You know,
That's a
I
great
I
point.
think
Yeah.
I think, and especially I feel like that's where Brian Daboll was at right now. Then unless you answer it, I feel like that's where Brian Daboll was at right now because I feel like he needs some receivers to run his offense. So I would definitely draft a receiver in the second round. To be honest, George Pickens from Georgia.
I mean, he'd be solid, man. Um,
Mm,
I mean, to be honest with you, I would. And I didn't have us selecting a wide receiver in this draft. I thought that we would maybe go the free agent, if not the free agent route. Selecting unrestricted free agents. From the draft.
mhm.
I could see it, but I personally, I would look towards one of those third rounders, if not the fourth round. And the reason
Mhm.
why I say that is, I guess Joe Shan had came out, with Bean and had said, when they were looking at a player like Gabriel Davis, who
Mhm.
I mean, he just had that monster game against the Chiefs. He was selected in the fourth round.
Yeah.
And Dable went up to them and said, "This is what I'm looking for. This is what I need. These are the tangibles the receiver has to have that I need to succeed in my offense." And they found that kind of a talent in the fourth round. I wouldn't select in the second round. In the second round, I'm really torn between if we double up with offensive linemen in the first round, I want an edge in the second
Well,
round,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
or a guard in the second round. That's kind of my two, or even a linebacker. But for me, I'm looking at either one of those third round picks, the latest being the fourth round. Because personally, man, I mean, if Slayton gets cut, which I'm not going to complain about at all. I think that we need to really get some of these guys that Shane and Dable think would fit their offense. We are going to need wide receiver, even with Colin Johnson, man. I mean, I think he was with the Jacksonville Jaguars, correct? With Trevor Lawrence at the time,
Yeah.
or not Trevor Lawrence. I believe it was the year before Lawrence came in that he was with the Jacksonville
Mhm.
Jaguars.
Yeah, with Mike
Um,
Glenn.
yeah, with Mike Lennon, and we saw how he can be a deep threat in terms of like what Galladay does, like a Walmart brand Galladay. But I think you need wide receiver, man. It's just a matter of would I be upset if they took one in the second round? No, not at all, because I need players that are going to stay healthy. I need players that are going to create separation. I need players that are going to catch the damn ball if they have 20 yards of separation in the damn end zone and it's a damn lob to the guy. That's what I
Yeah.
need,
Yeah, we
and
need receivers that create separation. The only receiver that
exactly.
can do that is Kadarius Toney.
Which I mean, man, I know that whole, not to go on a tangent. I know that that whole thing was a topic with Kadarius Tony, and there was people that literally disliked this kid just because he raps. Like he's supposed to be a robot, and he's just supposed to be football, football, football. Not that he's a human being and has other hobbies in life, but he has to be football, 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 and like that's
Yeah.
it. And to me, man, outside of Saquon when he's healthy, Kadarius Tony is the second best talent on this team. I don't care what no one says.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I
um,
I think I'm not gonna lie. I think of Kadarius Toney, next year, I think he'll be our best offensive talent on this team.
absolutely, 100%. I agree with you there,
Shit, he
man.
was our best offensive talent on this team this year when he played, when he used
Yeah,
him right. But let me say this, because I see a lot of people saying, like, we need a guard or something like this. But my perfect scenario would be, because there's a lot of good interior offensive linemen, and it's not like, again, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to go the veteran offensive lineman route, because look with Nate Solder, look with uh um what was the dude in Dallas we
uh,
got?
we got it wasn't Thuney. It was I know that we selected two offensive tackles, and what's his name? From the it wasn't the he played at the Jaguars after us. Omame, Patrick Omame.
Yeah,
We
Mame,
selected.
and then the dude that cost us the touchdown, the special team touchdown at Dallas.
Ooh, his name isn't coming into my head right now.
His name like Cam something, Cam
Oh,
something,
Cam Fleming. Cam Fleming.
Cam Fleming. Yeah, that was him. So,
Yeah,
but people got to realize we got actually like a good staff in here who evaluates talent. So now I'm gonna
absolutely.
just list some names right here. So free agents this year, you got Brandon Scherf, who's 30 years old, Andrew Norwell. Both of them are guards at 30 years old.
Yep.
Taron Armstead from New Orleans at a tackle. Ryan Jensen, center. Um, let's see. Let me go down the list, because I see some names I don't like. Uh, what's the dude? Laken Tomlinson, a guard from San Francisco. So let's say they want to go out and sign interior offensive line. I get it. A lot of people like Linderbaum, but I've always said, like, for the offensive line fans, Linderbaum is like the sexy pick. He's the greedy pick, right? But Let's say they want to go out and get a guard, and then with that fifth pick, we take Akeem or Kayvon, and then that seventh pick, if we go with Akeem, we take Devin Lloyd, or if we go Kayvon, we take Charles Cross. That second round opens up a lot because then your holes are linebacker, uh, you filled the edge, you filled the offensive tackle. So if you want to get an interior offensive lineman in round 2, I mean, you could do that. I'm not a fan of that. I think you could do that in round 3. Tight end, you're going to do that in rounds 3, 4, 5. Running back, you're going to do that in rounds 3, 4, 5. I think, for if Brian Daboll wants to, run his offense how he runs it, I think he's going to go receiver in round 2. I really do. If you go that route with one offensive line, one defense, maybe you want to get a corner round 2. If you keep Bradbury, I don't think we go corner in the first 2 rounds. So I think maybe you get somebody like George Pickens, Chris Olave. Jeff said it earlier. I forgot his name, from Arkansas.
I think it was. Hold on, I'm about to find it real quick. Was it? No, I think was it Jay Brandon Smith.
Oh no, that
No,
that I
no,
think
no,
that's the
no, I
tight
got that
end
wrong.
from
Yeah,
Alan Burks. Alan Burks, I think that's his
Adam
name.
Burks. Yeah,
Yes, I
right
think that's
here.
his name. Maybe people got to look at it like Trayvon Burks. Okay, people got to look at it with an open eye. Just thinking cookie cutter. That you don't always you draft for need, but you also draft what could help your team in the near future. Like I said, they're so terrified. Dave Gettleman and Jerry Reese terrified this fan base, into
Yeah,
thinking that we have to spend these 2 picks on the offensive line. You know, look around the league on really like average or offensive lines. They have one great offensive line, and then they have a couple of solid or good offensive linemen, right? They either have their 2 tackles, and then the middle is a couple of average or good solid guys, or they have their good tackle, their good interior offensive lineman, and then they have like an average or solid tackle. That's what people got to look at, you know. And like
yeah,
D Max
I'm there
said,
with you.
Shane knows how to find talent and find them late too, So he already
I agree
says he
there.
has he has a plan figured out. Um,
One
but
through
like if
four right now. Yeah,
yeah,
one through
1 through
four.
4. I think tight end. I think you could go a tight end with one of the third round picks because we do have 2. Maybe want to. I think tight end is a more of a need for me than running back.
Yep,
But
I'm there with you. We're gonna need
yeah,
tight
so
end, man. I mean,
yeah,
and
we
not
are.
to cut you off.
Oh no, you
Um,
good?
people have been people have been killing me for saying this, and I think that there may be some people in the chat that may agree with this. I think the Giants gotta double up at tight end. I
Me
really do
too.
think that, man. I mean, because I think Ingram, I think we can all agree is gone. I think there's maybe a slight chance he stays, but I think that's beyond unlikely that he stays. I just think that for both sides, it's best if he goes. I think we get a comp pick for him. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure that we do get a comp pick if he signs somewhere else. Rudolph is gone. I see that happening. Toilolo, he's gone. I would love to keep Caden Smith. For some reason, Judge had a grudge against this guy and just did not use Caden Smith. Um, we're gonna need tight end. We're gonna need tight end. And let me say this much in terms of the wide receiver position. You got and this is just me speaking here. I think you got to bring back John Ross. Well, let me not say got to. Let me not say that because you don't got to do anything. But I think that it would be smart to bring back John Ross. I mean, you want to talk about our only deep threat that we had last year. I mean, it seemed like every time Daniel Jones threw the ball downfield, it was going to John Ross. The Saints game, the Chiefs game. I mean, it's just you talk about a guy that could take the top off, pause, but could take the top off and really stretch the field, which Dable likes to do. I mean, I think that it's just that would be a perfect fit,
Yeah,
for
dude.
what he does. And I
Imagine, imagine.
man,
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
no,
off.
you
Just to
good,
say,
you good.
imagine you could get like Trey McBride in the third, like with one of those third round picks, and then get like Jeremy Rucker or Ferguson in like the 5th round.
Oh
That would
man,
be
that
that
would
would
be
be insane.
crazy. No, it would, and the hub brought it to my attention yesterday, which I hadn't seen this until yesterday, and I think this is very interesting. You look at a lot of these mock draft, simulators from different websites, right? Whether that's PFN, PFF, the NFL Network. When you go towards rounds 4, rounds 5, a lot of these tight ends are falling. A lot of
Yeah.
them are falling. So you could definitely, as much as I want to double up with tight end in the third round, you could definitely pick up one tight end and maybe a receiver in the third round. And then in the fourth round, you get yourself a tight end as well. But we need that dominant receiver or that competent, well-rounded receiver in a tight end that honestly, like Knox's, I want us to get ourselves a Mark Andrews, a George Kittle, or even a Darren Waller. I mean, and Ingram was supposed to be this good talent, which let's be real, Ash. I mean, he's just a glorified wide receiver playing tight end. I mean, that's how
Yeah.
I've always viewed this kid. I mean, and we've used this kid wrong. If we're gonna be on the topic of using players wrong and not really giving them a chance, I mean, as much as I dislike Evan Ingram, I think that, if he goes somewhere else, man, and gets a clean slate, this kid will thrive. I really do
Mhm.
think that. I think I'm not saying he's going to be in the Darren Waller conversation or the I keep butchering his name, but he's in Cincinnati right now. Uh
CJ Uzama.
Uzama, yeah. I'm not saying that he's going to be in that class of, tight ends, and I think he's a solid tight end in his own retrospect. But we need a competent tight end that could be, whether that's Daniel Jones, whether that's a QB we select in the 2023 draft. We need a competent tight end that could be that security blanket
Yeah.
for Daniel Jones, because his rookie year, his security blanket was Darius Slayton. He may be gone. We brought Galladay in to possibly be, his security blanket and have him go to that guy. We didn't even use him correctly. So we need to. I don't want to say we need to build around this kid, but we have to build around this kid and make sure that we provide him with not only the proper weapons, but weapons that could stay healthy.
Yep.
Because I think that and I could be wrong. The chat could tell me if I'm wrong. But I think that we could count, if at most, maybe on one hand and maybe a finger or two on the next hand, maybe, where this kid has had that many games with all of his weapons on the field.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it was. I think it was like 8 total games in his career, or 9. Well, actually, no. I think it was like. Well, I think the snaps was like 15 snaps, but the games were like, I don't know.
it's still not a lot. I mean, he's going into
Yeah.
his fourth year. I mean, and I gotta be fair here. Again, there's things that the kid has to work on. There's things that, as an organization right now, that we have to fix. When we talk about the holes that we may have, whether that's in our depth and D tackle, which is, I mean, insane to think about, because at one point that was the strength to our defense, and now that's looking like a hole on our defense. Especially when you look at the depth, we're going to need defensive tackle. We're going to need edge. We're going to need linebacker. We're going to need another safety or corner. We're going to need offensive tackle and guard. I mean, so it's like, I mean, these 9 picks, man, we're gonna need to bolster up and get some more picks, in my honest opinion.
Yeah. 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 I
But
get that.
I mean, it's gonna be fun, man. I mean, now we got free agency coming up. We had spoken last night about how we could clear up the cap without necessarily trading Saquon and still get over $40 million. And honestly, I mean, before we get into the next topic, just briefly, man, let me get your thoughts, man. Are you in favor of trading this guy? Do you want to maybe keep him? And you could, honestly, I think you could extend the guy if you wanted to on a relatively cost-effective deal, considering he's been pretty injury prone. But
Mm.
what are your thoughts, man, on Saquon? Just before we get into the next topic.
I think. I think if you extend him now, because just to have him cheap, because next year if he balls out, then he's going be demanding top dollar money. Probably going to have to franchise tag him if you want to trade him, stuff like that.
Yep.
But you know, if you want to get something back for him, right? But if you want to extend him, they want to extend him. If Brian Daboll wants to keep him, Joe Shane wants to keep him, extend him now, please, because I don't want us giving him top dollars Christian McCaffrey money,
Yeah,
right?
I'm there with you.
Um, but if the price, if they offer a second round pick, I saw that the 49ers were interested in him. Let's say the
Yeah,
49ers want to offer like a second round pick or something like that. I'd trade him. And that's nothing against him, but that's so you're gonna have two firsts, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and then a fourth, and then 2 fifths, right?
sheesh. Yeah,
So that's a lot.
it
I
is a
love
lot. It
Saquon.
is a lot.
I love Saquon, but if the price is right, if the offer is right, trade him.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
a lot of these playoff teams, they don't care about. I don't believe that we're gonna get a first round pick. Um, like I said, like maybe Joe Shane wants to, wants to, or Brian Daboll wants to pay his respects back to Buffalo from taking, a lot of the staff, trade Saquon, and maybe Buffalo, like playoff teams, they don't care about their picks. So
That's
maybe
very
they
true.
want to trade, their first round pick, or the
Maybe Buffalo.
49ers. The 49ers, their pick is at like, wait a minute, no, the 49ers don't get a first round pick this year.
No, yeah, they don't. They traded that
Yeah,
to
they
I
don't.
believe to
To
move up,
Miami.
right? With
To
yeah, in
Miami.
this year's draft. Yeah.
Yeah, so well, maybe they want to trade their second round pick, you know. I'll do that. But
I got no issues with that either.
I do think Saquon Barkley is in a similar situation to Daniel Jones. Like I said earlier, Odell really helped Saquon Barkley his rookie year by taking like stopping the defense from loading up the box, from murdering him, and that's how
Yep.
Saquon got a lot of. So I feel like Saquon was set up to fail too. But if the price is right, I'll trade him. But you know, I do think we do need to get a running back just because of his just because of his injury history. But I do want to keep him. But if you want to extend him now because I think Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry's deal right now, I think he's getting paid like
I gotta look it up real quick. Give me one
he's
sec.
getting yeah, I looked it up right now. But so he has a 4 year $50 million contract with Tennessee Titans, including a 12 million signing bonus, 25 million guaranteed, and an average salary of 12,500,000. So I want everybody to follow me with this. Derrick Henry, on average, right now, his average salary, he's getting paid $12 million a year.
And he's the best back in the
So if
league.
you're Saquon Barkley and you want a contract and you want to stay in New York, you're telling me you want to get more than 12 million a year?
Yep.
Hell no.
Yeah.
So you need to extend him if you want to keep him. You need to extend him now. Because then if this dude goes off and becomes the best running back in football, if you want to and you fix your offensive line,
Yeah.
he's going to demand close to Christian McCaffrey money.
Yeah.
And
It's
yeah,
possible.
Barkley is going to accept that because if you go in the market, if you just cut him, he's not going to get that either. His
That's
best
true.
situation right now is to extend with the Giants on like at the most, a $10 million salary a year. So
Which I mean, that's not even that bad. For me, it's not that bad considering that we know what the guy could do when he is healthy. But the problem is sometimes he can't stay healthy, which I mean that could be him dancing too much. I mean, freak accidents, especially with the Dallas injury this year. I think that that's a freak accident. But I, man, it's like I think it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you give this guy an offensive line, you can really see what he does, right? But then it's like you see how this team operates when he's not really in the lineup. We did pretty solid with Wayne Gallman in 2020. Then you saw Devontae Booker, who, at first Giants fans weren't really fond of, which I get it. He was the first signing in free agency. We kind of paid him a pretty good amount to be that number two. But there was games where, he looked like the better back, than Saquon. So for me, man, I mean, and this is why I highlighted this comment by Floyd. I don't mind a running back by, committee approach. That's pretty much what the Giants have been doing, in recent memory. But I just my problem is that I don't want to be on that opposite end either, where let's say he goes to a team like the 49ers. Let's say he goes to a team like Buffalo. Do you really want to deal with Josh Allen and then have to worry about Stephon Diggs and then Saquon Barkley in the backfield? I'm
Mhm.
not trying to deal with that. Am I trying to see him in a Rams uniform where he's going to be looking like damn near? I'm not going to call him Barry Sanders, but he's going to look like rookie year Saquon. I'm not trying to be on the opposite end of that. I don't think he'll ever fully get back to that, but I think that a lot of people also don't give him the slack of this kid was coming off of a serious injury. On
Mhm.
top of that, you had Jason Garrett calling plays, who I don't care what no one says. This was barely a what an NFL offense. Barely, it looked like barely even a college offense at times.
Mhm.
So for me, I think that if you do extend Saquon, which I'm not necessarily against, it has to be definitely team friendly, and I think it's possible. And I think that Jeff, you make a great point with saying, would Saquon take that? I think he does. I'm not going to say he doesn't necessarily have a choice,
Nine
but
million. You know.
I, I don't know about 8 million a year. Mark. I think that definitely around 10 million I could see, but I mean, if you're Saquon, man, I mean, you're constantly injured. On top of that, if the highest paid running back is Derrick Henry, who I think most people would agree is the best back in the league right now.
I
I
think the
mean,
highest paid is Christian McCaffrey.
oh, Christian McCaffrey's
Not
actually
well.
that
I'm
that
gonna
that
look it
might
up.
be. Yeah, that might
Yeah,
be because I know
Christian
Carolina
McCaffrey.
gave him a big contract.
Actually Derrick Henry is not even the top three highest paid. He
Wow.
is Christian McCaffrey is getting 16 million a year. Alvin Kamara is getting 15 million a year. Ezekiel Elliott is getting 15 million a year, and then Dalvin Cook is getting 12 million to 600,000 a year. And then Derrick Henry is getting 12
Yeah.
million 500,000. Even I mean, look, he right now Saquon is getting paid right now 7 million and 798
Yeah.
like this year.
Absolutely.
So Joe Mixon is getting paid 12 million. Saquon is not going to reach past that $10 million mark, right? So, and he did say he wants to trade he wants to spend his career in New York. So my
Yeah.
thing is just like if you don't want to accept that, if you don't want to accept a $9 million deal, because I'll be comfortable giving a $9 million deal, um, or a $10 million deal. I'm not gonna lie, but if you don't want to accept that, then Bob, like we're gonna trade you. You know,
Yeah. Absolutely, and you're absolutely right, Floyd. We're not a win now team. So it really shouldn't affect us. But I don't know, man. I mean, I think that if you go grab a Haskins, from Michigan, and let's say you do cut Devontae Booker, which saves you quite a bit of money actually. So they may look to do that. I mean, even if Saquon is traded, you still get a solid player in Haskins. But I think that Haskins and possibly if Saquon does stay, those two right there. I mean, that could be a very nice run game. And again, I mean, it does make sense. I'm not gonna sit here and act like it doesn't make sense to trade, Saquon. It does. It makes a lot of sense to trade Saquon. Right now, I mean, if he has a pretty solid year and the trade deadline is coming up, and let's say a team like Buffalo or let's see a team like the 49ers or the Rams even want to trade, a second round pick or, Buffalo maybe I mean, you could say a first, which to them would just be an early second if you really want to if you want to nitpick it, because it's going to be a late first rounder. Um, I mean, even then, you got to take it. But if I'm not getting a second round pick for the guy, I can't move off of him right now. I can't. And even with that, I wouldn't even just outright cut him if I can't trade him. I mean, at that point, man, I mean, is it even worth it, extending him? Is it even worth, just releasing him? It's something that you have to ask yourself if you're, Joe Shane and Brian Dable. Um, my my biggest concern, which honestly, it shouldn't even really be a concern too much, but my biggest concern is can Brian Dable get this running game going? We know what he can do in terms of, the passing attack. We see what he, and again, I'm not expecting, Josh Allen level of performance, but I also don't want Daniel Jones again to be our leading rusher when you have a
Yeah.
talent like Saquon in the backfield. Or if they keep Booker, you see what he can do, behind a piss poor offensive line. So, that's my biggest question is can Dable get this run game going? Um, you gotta hope. You really gotta hope, man. But lastly, the last topic, man. Who do you think is winning the Super Bowl, man? Who are you picking?
Um, I'm not gonna lie. This is one of the toughest Super Bowls for me in the
Yeah, me
past,
too. Me too.
couple of years because I've always had a sore fire pick. I'm not gonna say all my picks was right, but I've always had like I really think this team is gonna win. Like even back to 2000, what was it, 2013, the Seahawks faced the Broncos. I was like, yeah, the Seahawks gonna win. Then the Panthers when they faced the Broncos, I was like the Panthers gonna win. I was wrong. Um, you know, Patriots versus Rams, I thought the Patriots gonna win, and then Eagles versus Patriots, I thought the Patriots gonna win, and I was wrong. But I've always had a clear cut favorite for the Super Bowl. Um, this year, I think the Rams will win. I really do. I don't think the Bengals offensive line, they Joe Burrow and what he's been able to do with that offensive line is just amazing. Just amazing. Being that he was the most sacked quarterback in the league and he got to the Super Bowl. But we're talking about Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, and the rest of the Rams defensive line. That's a different animal, right? It's just a different animal.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
um I don't have faith that their offensive line will be able to hold up. And then you have Jalen Ramsey, to top it off. Um, that's going to be a fun matchup with Jamar Chase, but I feel like this is going to be a defensive game, to be honest. I really do. And I think the Rams are going to pull it out. But listen, if Joe Burrow has that ball and it's like, you know, he needs to drive down the field, the Bengals are winning that game. The
Oh,
Bengals are
absolutely.
winning that game. Joe Burrow he's an elite quarterback. This what he's been able to do this year is simply phenomenal after coming off of that injury. That just like a lot of people say, oh yeah, the offensive line, you need an offensive line, but I've been one to say, you could have the best offensive line of all time. If you don't have that quarterback, it's not gonna mean nothing. They're gonna give up blocks. You're not gonna look so great if you don't have that quarterback to take command of the offense, and that's what Joe Burrow is. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals win. I've picked against the Bengals for the past 2 weeks. I picked the Titans to beat the Bengals, and then I picked the Chiefs to beat the Bengals. Now I'm picking the Rams. So if the Bengals win, I accept my fate there, but you know, I think the Rams will win, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals take this one. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the Super Bowl. We're gonna
I like
see.
it. I like it.
Yeah.
Nah, I mean, you make a great point there, man. I mean, I'm definitely torn between the two teams personally. I think that the Bengals could win this game. I think the Rams should win this game. I think on paper, and you can make a very solid argument on field, they're the better team. Um, I definitely do think that it's going to come down to can this offensive line give Joe Burrow enough time to make some plays happen? Because you got Aaron Donald on that line coming at the offensive line. You got Von Miller. You got Floyd coming off the line. I mean, they got some dogs out there, man. So it's going to really come down to, can they protect Joe Burrow? Now, I think that Jalen Ramsey, he hasn't really shadowed his receivers this year, and that's partially due to, mainly due to the scheme and how Raheem Morris is running that defense.
Mhm.
But I think that you are going to see quite a few matchups between him and Jamar Chase, which that's what I'm looking forward to the most. I really want to see Chase and Ramsey going at it. I think that that's going to be, that's for me at least, that's really going to be what I'm looking at the most. I gotta choose the Bengals, man. I just got a
Yeah,
feeling with this team,
yeah,
and let's be honest, they shouldn't win the game. I think that the both offenses are very balanced. When you look at their passing attack, their running attack, balanced offense. But what the problem is that I trust the Rams' offensive line a little bit, if not a lot more than I trust the Bengals' offensive line. But for me, man, I mean, I think Joey B. Joey B, cool, calm, and collective. I think he's not phased by those big lights. I think that he plays better under the big lights. And I mean, I don't know, man. I'll definitely eat the crow if the Bengals lose again. They probably should lose this game, but for me, man, I mean, I just got a good feeling about this Bengals
yeah.
team.
I have
But
that feeling too.
I'm
It's
just
a
not sure.
story. The story is really great because
Oh,
if
absolutely.
if Joe Burrow wins, he'll be the only quarterback in NFL history to win the Heisman, National College Football Championship, and Super Bowl. So
That would be insane, man. That would be really freaking crazy. I'm not even gonna lie to you. And if he could win a Super Bowl in his second year, I mean, that would just be huge. Not only that
yeah,
would that be huge for him, obviously, but that would be huge for Cincinnati. Cincinnati, I mean, they've been through so much to say the least. And I what better way would to cap off the season with the Super Bowl win? And I really dislike the narrative that that some people have where they're saying that, oh, the Bengals got lucky to be in the position where they're at. I really disagree with that. First of all,
yeah,
they already beat the Chiefs in the regular season in week 17. Okay, then they go on the road. They knock off the number one seed in the Titans, who sacked Joey B 9 times. Nine
yep,
times, man. I mean, there's not many QBs in this league that could sustain getting sacked 9 times, still be cool, calm, and collective, not be phased about it, and go put his team on his back and go get the dub. Then they go on and they beat the Chiefs, which for me, man, I mean, I think you could definitely put that game on Patrick Mahomes. I thought he was trying to be a little too cute, honestly. But for me, man, I just I don't know. I can't genuinely say that this team got lucky. They went on the road, they did what they had to do. They beat competent teams. It's not like they beat scrub teams. They beat competent teams, and now they're in the Super Bowl. And I think, man, if you can build an offensive line for Joe Burrow, because he's getting sacked so much, you could be possibly looking at a team that's constantly in the playoffs when they're in a division that has Lamar Jackson. They're in a division that has Mike Tomlin, who, even though they haven't really had a competent, well, let me not say competent, but a very good quarterback, and Roethlisberger is a Hall of Famer. I have my own opinions on Roethlisberger, but he's still a Hall of Fame quarterback. But they still haven't had a losing season under him. I mean, that's just so uncommon when you look at that in terms of what they dealt with in recent years at the quarterback position. So I think that if you can address the offensive line, I mean, this should be a team that constantly competes. And I know that a lot of people will say, the constant matchup that they look forward to year in and year out would be, you know, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen going at it. Now you got to worry about Joe Burrow. So for me, man,
yep,
the AFC is stacked. This Super Bowl is going to be a good one. I don't, Jaden, I don't have a score prediction just because I don't know how this Super Bowl is going to go. I mean, if they don't give Joe Burrow enough time, I mean, man, you can almost pencil in the Rams and they should dominate that game. But if they give this man some time and he can, hit Chase or Higgins, or they get Joe Mixon running, I mean, it could be a very close one, man. So
yeah,
I don't know if I have a score prediction at the moment, but definitely maybe by tomorrow I will. Maybe Sunday. But yeah, my bad, buddy. I just don't have a score prediction. NYG31 says Bengals could beat the Rams in the Super Bowl. Yeah, they absolutely could. They absolutely could. I think that it's very possible. I do see a little bit of resemblance to the 2011 New York Giants in this Bengals team. Not to say that Joe Burrow's Eli Manning or anything like that, because at that point Eli was already a Super Bowl winning quarterback. But for me, man, I mean, this kid is the real deal. This team is the real deal. They just have some things that they have to fix, but it's a simple fact for me that they made it to the Super Bowl with barely an offensive line at that much and a second year quarterback coming off a serious injury. So I got the Bengals winning this one. But Ash, I appreciate you coming through, man. This has been a very fun show. Honestly, one of my favorite shows that I've done recently. So I really appreciate this, man.
Yeah,
Where
no
can they
problem.
find you, man? I put your link in the chat. The link will be in the description as well, to Ash's YouTube channel. Y'all gotta check that out. To Get Back with Ash. I will say this much, man. I gotta tell you this much. For me, I love College Dropout. One of my favorite albums
Oh
of all
yeah,
time.
man. Yeah, man.
But for me, My Dark Twisted Fantasy, man, I don't care what no one says in this chat or people listening to this. That's a top 5 album of all genres in music history. That's
Oh
just
yeah,
my
man.
opinion.
Yeah, if y'all want to go check out, I dropped a video on yesterday was the 18th year anniversary of College Dropout when it dropped. So I did a video basically going over some of my favorite tracks off that album, basically talking about I talked about the meaning on Through the Wire, a song with Selena Johnson. I talked about or not Selena Johnson. Um dang, what was the sample by on Through the Wire? I forgot.
I'm gonna
But
look it up now.
it wasn't Selena Johnson because Selena was on All Falls Down. But yeah, I'm gonna be incorporating some music content, so definitely go check that out. Well, like I said, yeah, I dropped the video. Basically going over some of the tracks. I dropped some sports content too. I'm going on a cruise
Ooh,
for spring
okay.
break, so I'm gonna be dropping a vlog on that. Probably around like March, the end of March. So, but definitely doing a lot of content. But you can find me at the Get Back with Ashton Griffith. And yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man, not a problem, bro. It's been my pleasure. Actually, to the sample was by Chaka Khan, which
Yeah,
I'm actually
that
kind of
Chaka Khan.
I'm upset that I didn't remember that because one, I produced, but two, I got a Chaka Khan vinyl behind me, so I'm
Yeah,
actually kind of upset I didn't remember that. But nah, man. I mean, look, Mark, I'm a very big Kanye fan, so definitely you can say that for sure. Um, but nah, I appreciate you coming on, Ash. You can find Ash again. His link will be in the description and as well in the chat. New York Giants fans, we'll see you guys with the next video. Hit Squad out. We're gonna let this intro play one more time, bro.